Hello and welcome. It's Róisín here, Róisín Curé, and you're very welcome to my channel.
I guess everybody needs a room of their own, a place where you can shut the door and be creative as you like and know that no one's going to barge in and disturb your creative flow. And my studio was a long time coming, but it's been a magical and very special place for me. It's where I've taught all my classes, and it's where I design my sketch pocket, and it's where this little man here keeps me company, and we have a lovely time. So today I'm going to show you how I drew this little picture of my studio. So you can sketch along with me with this little video, and I hope that you find something useful in it, and I hope that you enjoy it. Here's my studio. Here's Ruben.
For this sketch, I used a fountain pen, Fude 55 degrees is best, artist watercolours, a decent round pointed paintbrush, some watercolour paper and some waterproof inks.
Now, a really good way to get going is to start off with a very light watercolour line. That will go down there. I think this is going to be about the right scale. See, look, I've got rid of this line here because my shape was a bit wrong. So this is the advantage. See, look at this. I can just wash away that first line. This is the advantage of using a watercolour line first before you do anything else. Okay, so if that's there and that ends up there, bit of a slope here. Okay, so that's my main blocky shape. Whoops. See, things like that don't matter when you're doing this. Just watch out where your points intersect. There we go. I've got my funny little gazebo thing, which got ripped in a strong wind the other day. So you see, this is a really good way to is that a bit slopier? I think it is. This is painting with a watercolour brush first is a really good way to keep your confidence. It really doesn't matter what colour you paint them in, because I'm going to go over all of this with a pen anyway. Okay. Now I know you can barely see the lines, but that's kind of the point. It means that if you really do mess up, is that too? It's a bit. If you really do mess up badly, then you can just wash. You won't see the brush lines. Okay, so you can just about. I don't know if you can make it out in the camera, but you should be able to just about see the very faint outlines. Okay, so that is that going to be too low? No, it's not too bad. That's more or less that. I wish I'd turned the chairs to face me a bit more, because I think they would have looked a bit more chair-like. Wonder. Oh yeah, you've just to keep checking your slopes. That's better. Okay, so now my next step is to wait for everything to dry. Okay, so now that's it. I've got my lines, and I'm going to put that little brush aside, and I'm going to see, you can just about see those faint lines. Now I'm going to pick out the lines I like with a pen. The ink I have in here is Frida Sketch Ink by Roaring Klingner. Okay, that should be a bit sort of slopey. So you can still change things at this stage. I'm not too worried about a little bit of a colour run. Probably should be worried, but I'm not. So I think I've gone a bit too high with that one. The beginning bit, by the way, is always where you're going to make mistakes. Once you get into the swing of it, you won't make any mistakes at all. I hope I get enough of this studio in to put myself in a good mood in the winter, because if I don't get enough of it, I'll just look at it and go, ugh, that doesn't look like my studio. So as you can see, I'm using the fine side of my Fude pen. Ooh, that wasn't a very straight line. I'm going to just fix that.
It can be easier to draw a line straight if you turn your book to accommodate the direction your hand prefers to go.
So you can see how turning the page through 90 degrees, it really helps you to draw a line in the axis you're looking for. There's the corner, so that's just inside the corner. That's the other side of the wall. And then that's kind of straight. I've got my waney boards, as they're called. That's the log cabiny bits. They're a bit uneven. And then I've got a herb bed, and the herbs are all need replacing, but I might draw them fakely so that I think that I've kept my herbs looking really good. Why not? There's the second one. I know it looks like nothing at the moment, but that's because the first little bit of the drawing is always very kind of construction-y. This is the tablecloth. Do you know, the legs are going to look a bit funny on this table because they are funny, because it's let's say entry level, shall we say entry level patio table. Sorry about the wobbles. Getting a firm tripod is definitely on my to-do list. Oh, that is way out there. Ooh, gosh, I've just realised my tablecloth is a lot shorter, but that's okay because I can compensate for that. So I got my my monthly report from YouTube today, and one of the things it said was to draw, or not to draw, but to make videos according to search terms that people are looking for. And I'm just kind of laughing to myself thinking, yeah, people are going to be searching for how to draw Róisín's studio. It's all I ever wanted to know, how to draw. about right, I think. So right now it looks kind of dumb. But you'll see, oh, you better see, this is me. Why did I have to put all the business bit right in the middle? It's very stupid of me. I'm going to bring this out a bit, I think. Yeah, that's a bit better actually, even though it throws off the roof considerably. Whoops. So it's very pleasant out here. Note how I only draw a heavier line when I'm super confident that it's completely in the right place. So even that little corner of the tablecloth doesn't get noticed because I only drew it in a really light pen to begin with. Now the legs of this table, they look a bit funny. That's because it's one of these folding tables that has kind of chunky thick legs in the middle and then really skinny ones at the front and back. And if you add to that the fact that the part of the legs at the front of the table blew off in a storm, and also add to that the fact that I didn't draw the legs very clearly because I got a bit tangled up with chairs. So don't try and make sense of it, is all I'm saying. Just do your best to draw what I did and you'll be fine. I would say the same goes with the chairs, although they're a bit more standard. They're the typical fold-up, triangle-y legged ones. But it's certainly the same in the sense that I didn't draw them very well. But I don't know, they're not too bad. Well, I drew the windows, but my hand was covering them, so I didn't show you that bit. So I'm adding little bits of the doorway. Didn't leave myself very much width for the doorway, but I think I can just about squeeze it in alongside those two little plant boxes for the herbs, which I might add have now been replaced. Not quite planted, but bought. And I'm doing a little bit of a grassy verge at the front of the studio. So I've got most of the important bits done. Now I'm going to put in some of the horse chestnut tree leaves that are on the tree just behind the studio. The studio is nestled in amongst the trees, and the backdrop of the trees is very, very dense and very, very dark green. So there's going to be a lot of scribbling made for the trees around the studio and behind the studio. I'm sort of trying to give a bit of depth to the bottom edge of the waney boards that are facing the building. Now I know it might be a little bit tricky to follow along the drawing for this bit, but that's because my hand was covering much of it and you couldn't really learn much. So here you are, here's the line bit, the drawing bit. So I hope you have a chance to catch up before we go on to the painting bit. This is the stage that I think makes quite a lot of difference because I'm trying to fill in all the little bits and pieces that I've missed. Like a slightly darker edge to the edge of a board, or little bits of grassy texture.
Small little details, but they do make a big difference. So I guess I've got all the broad shapes, I've got all the structure of the piece. The next thing is to just add loads of little bits of detail.
Okay, this chimney is way too low. There's not much I can do about it now. I pretend it's a low chimney.
This very, very fine line, made using the reverse of the foodie nib, is to show that the corrugated iron roof has been put on in panels. And I'm using the very, very fine line because you wouldn't get the right effect if you used a heavy line. You know, back in the day when our kids were very small, we had a playground that Marcel and I built for the kids. It was really dangerous, actually. Totally defeated the purpose because I had to watch them the whole time. I mean, it was a disaster. But I used to gaze out at this particular shed and I used to think, wouldn't it be so cool if I had a studio built out of the same SIP panels that this little workshop was made out of, because Marcel had built it from leftover panels that we used to build our house. And then one day it hit me, I could have this building. And that was it. And between the two of us, Marcel and I converted it. And it's been an absolute paradise ever since. And it is warm. It's brilliant. I love it. I love sharing my little studio, my little place with you. And the surrounding countryside, it's all gorgeous when it's not totally freezing cold and pouring rain. I love sharing it with you. And I love making sketching a little bit easier and a little bit more accessible to everybody. So, like this video and don't forget to subscribe.
Ooh, there's a nice strong shadow.
Now is your moment to take a look over the drawing and ask yourself, have you got all the outlines of the shadows in place? Because you won't find it so easy to draw them once you start painting.
Okay, I'm onto the squinting phase now. This is very dark. See, the good thing is I can run out of this colour ink because I have some with me. God, this is very dark. I hope you have seen this so far, and if you've watched it this far and realised that everything looks so bad when you start. And if you just keep at it, it ends up looking relatively okay. Okay, I've come to the end of the drawing bit. And now I'm going to do a bit of painting, and unlike the initial drawing, I'm not going to use my super granulating colours. I'm going to use my regular set, which is these ones, and I'm sure they're very mucky. Yes, indeed. I need to give this a clean. So I have a nice clean palette. And remember, the same thing applies every time, which is that values do all the work, but colour gets all the glory. Or the other way around. Putting on some yellow ochre here. Some burnt sienna. Burnt sienna, burnt sienna. For the chairs. I can feel some damp in the air now. What else is new, says she? We've had nothing but rain this summer. So if I just put on the colours here, oh, my tablecloth has just blown off. If I just put on the colours, then you're not going to get an effect. You're just not. So the important thing is to get the values right. I've just realised I don't have very much in the way of chair underneath that table. Okay. I'll go and retrieve my tablecloth in a second. So I'm doing lots of squinting. Now I'm going to add some burnt umber and some Payne's grey. And the sun has suddenly come out really strongly. So I'm going to really emphasize that shadow. And I am squinting like mad to see what I'm supposed to be doing here. I know squinting sounds counterintuitive, and it kind of is. This is super dark underneath these eaves, so I'll give that another layer. Whew. And if this ends up looking realistic, it'll be all down to the values. Bumblebee flying past, bumble lily. It's kind of, when the light is coming in and out, when the sun is coming in and out, can be just a little bit ugh. I should be using my R13 because it's got a much more sensitive point. I'm going to change that colour. Getting visited by all these sweet little bumblebees. Why did I have to put all this interest right over the... Oh, I wonder. That's a good idea. Sorry, I'm thinking aloud. It's just that this is not, this bit of grassy area visible through the windows. It's not bright white. No, au contraire, it's kind of dark green, but I have to leave that for a bit because I need those colours to dry a little tad. It's the green grass. Ooh, there's much more yellow in it than that. That's better. I might skedaddle back to the studio in a few minutes and get some green ink. Paddy thinks that I'll look at this in the winter and I'll be sad and wish that it was summer again, and he might well be right. I always wish it was summer. Always. So in fact he is right. So if you go really quickly when it's fresh and wet, you should be fine with not ending up with any horrible brush strokes. So there we go. So we'll leave those to dry. Ooh, I've got some very bright green just here.
Sun's coming out again. Herbs. It's a big lie. The herbs are all mouldy now. A little bit of shed. Just make sure you don't bash into other colours you're in the middle of putting on. And remember about the colour doing all the glory, getting all the glory, and the values doing all the work. Just remember that, because you're going to see this develop. Remember, see this, for example, see this shadow I'm putting on here. Well, that doesn't look like a realistic shadow, especially since it's done in the gutter. Ugh. But once I start pushing on some really dark colour around, values around it, then it'll look much, much better. So now I have to put the green on for the little woodland setting, which is my beloved studio. There's Patsy next door doing a bit of strimming. So it's at the borders that the values really count. Right next to a border is where you want to go super dark. And ooh, wowzers, it's so dark underneath here. Why have I got a line there? Oh, just the under part of the gazebo. So this really delicate point works a treat. For these little tiny corners around. Okay, so the bird feeder isn't getting included because it's such a rusty mess now, because all it was doing was attracting rats in the end. And I'm sorry, but you know, I'm sorry birds, if your furry mammalian brethren are going to come along as well. Back with my nice limited edition. This is for the shed, which I wasn't going to do because this drawing wasn't about the shed. I'm very bad for not taking my own advice. Like, one of the things I say is, what is it you want to draw? Oh, sugar, I went over that. Ugh. Okay, watch me get rid of that now. Hold on. A little bit of water. There you go. Yeah, decide what it is about the scene that you like. And that's what you're going to concentrate on. But I forgot, and I ended up doing shed. It's lucky I did the shadow lines because the sun has gone in now. Okay, time for me to get some green ink. Okay, I've got some green ink now, and I am going to start putting some texture, I suppose.
kind of like scribbly bits. Scribbly bits are always good. Scribbly bits go a long way. And I'm doing more squinting so that I can see my values clearly. This, of course, is all waterproof ink. It's completely straight at the back. Clip that a tiny bit. There we go. And lid on. I'm going to put some super dark colour on here. Oh, damn it, it's still wet.
You really need to wait for the underlying colour to be completely dry, because a shadow on a sunny day generally has a very sharp edge. And if there's any damp in the paint underneath, your shadow's going to have a fuzzy edge, and you don't want that, because it will kill the effect of a shadow. So I'm using some concentrated Aquarius green with a little bit of Payne's grey, and I'm trying to keep that colour good and deep and strong. Dark green with a tiny touch of, I suppose, navy, to make it convincing as a shadow colour. Making sure to go all around whatever part of the shed is in shade.
Well, at least I've got my tablecloth back on. I put it on when I was getting my green ink. Pick up some of that there. I'm annoyed with that little furry edge there. Do I have a line? I do. I'm just seeing if there's shadow on one side or other. Those supports, and there is on the left. Whoops, that is still wet. That was a mistake. Oh, there's a bit of a shadow there. Now, do you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to, well, I guess I'm concentrating on values now. And I have to wait for that to dry, and then I'm going to go over it in black ink, because that is the next colour. And that, under the eaves, it's kind of a dark blue. Payne's grey, of course. I've learned that this purpley mineral violet Payne's grey makes a very, very good shadow colour. Bit of grey for the gazebo supports. It's a very boring gazebo as gazebos go. However, it could not be more perfect for in front of my studio because it fits directly underneath the eaves of the roof. That kind of brown. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking to myself, which isn't much help. I always have a black pen handy because sometimes only black will do. Sometimes you need the values of the deep, deep black. Sun has gone in again, so it's kind of hard to tell what the values are doing. Some more green. You can build it up in layers, of course. And remember, the deepest layers are right next to your borders. I'm going to try and do a very light Payne's grey on that roof. Right, now's the time to try a little bit of black, see if I can see if I can improve the values. I can feel a bit of rain now, so I might be running indoors any minute. Tiny fly in my arm, not at all welcome because it's tickly. Okay, time for some green grass. Pretend herbs. Real grass, little bits of texture for some actual grass. Bit of black pen. Bit of black pen for the deep, gloomy interior. Even the navy blue ink isn't deep enough. Oh, very dark here. I can hear the horses next door galloping. A bit of brown ink. Now you see, these tiny little bits of shadow, they make all the difference. Where's that one? That one's there. That one's there. I guess that's it really, except for the pattern up there. So I guess it's over and out. It's finished.
Well, that was a long one. And I guess if you sketched along with me today, then you know my studio as well as I do. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you picked up loads of tips. See you next time.